What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Run Your Race show with your host, Akeem
and Chanelle.
And first and foremost, again, thank everybody for taking the time to tune in. Check out the show. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. So with the recording of this, then you have seen the Zurich Diamond League. So this is what we're going to be touching on, as we touched on it in our last episode, which was 3-4 days ago. So not too long ago. Let's get into it. Let's start with the women's 100-meter dash. So this was pretty much a repeat. Well, not a repeat, but that second of what we saw at the Paris Olympics. Couple names missing, but for the most part, Sha'carri Richardson and Julian Alfred faced off again. Dina-Asher Smith. So Sha'carri came through and got the nod. 1084, Alfred 1088. Dina-Asher Smith almost kept it together. 1089. Now the rain was crazy. The weather was not favorable for the athletes, but the atmosphere looked pretty good. What did you think of this performance right here?
Yeah, Dina got out like a bullet. I didn't think she was going to get caught because of that 200-meter strength that she has. Richardson and Alfred were kind of neck and neck the entire time, but Dina was definitely out front for the majority of the race. Richardson found a gear or something and was able to come away with the win, but not as fast as you thought it may be in our prediction show a few days ago, but a competitive race, right? Richardson, she didn't look as nervous on the line. She just kind of looked like she was going to get the job done. Alfred actually looked a little bit more nervous than I've ever seen her. So maybe that's that Olympic gold medalist pressure, but good race. Like I said, not as fast as some may expected, but I think at this point of the year, people are just trying to finish the season. You know, I don't think fast times are really what it's about. People are just showing up, getting their appearance fees, collecting that check, and staying healthy is the goal. So good race.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be faster. Obviously, not counting that the rain was going to be there. So that probably changes things in September. So it's probably not as warm. But a comparative race. The thing about Sha'carri Richardson that she does extremely well that others kind of have to force is her knee lift just comes up naturally, and she's able to hold her positions towards the back end of her race really well, and it proved her strength and got her the win, because it really wasn't 1084, 1088 is not too far off, but another good consistent run for all of these women. Anytime that you can run sub 11, sub 1090 is a great showing. So as you mentioned, they're just trying to finish off the Olympic campaign, finish healthy, collect a couple of the checks, and try to put forth a good performance with one more Diamond League to go and a couple other events. But I thought it was a good run for all of them. You know, I don't think at this stage, I don't think it's more about training as much as it's about competing. And so it's probably less training and more just showing up and just running. So good run, competitive field, not the fastest times that I talked about last week, well, 3 days ago, but still competitive, still a good run. Let's keep things pushing. Let's go over to the men's 100-meter hurdles. We kind of both mentioned that it was going to be sub 13 to win this race. And sure enough, Grant Holloway, the clock showed 13:01, but the clock showed him some favor and dipped under 13. And that always makes things a little bit better. You could see his excitement when he went sub 13 versus the 13:01, 13:02 that showed up on the clock. Brad Bell did not show up. Heard that he was battling some injuries, but nonetheless, Sasha Zoa came through with a personal best, 13:10. Freddie Crittenden, 13:15. What did you think of this race right here?
Yeah, Holloway, he dominated. He got out, and it was just kind of catch me if you can, and no one could. It wasn't really a close race. From the beginning, he kind of established himself and never looked back. Unfortunate not to see Brawbell there, but hopefully he is okay. And another solid race. We did say it was going to take sub 13 to win it, and 12:99 is right there. So Holloway continues his dominance in this event.
Yeah, and I think that is number 13 for him when it comes to running sub 13. If you want to break the record, which is the second fastest man, but you want to break the record, they always say you have to be consistent going sub 13, and he's definitely finding his groove. Zoa came on strong. I mean, he was with the pack. He was with Holloway till about the last 3 hurdles, and that's when Grant pulled away. But a good comparative field. You can't argue when you're still running fast in September. So these are really good times. Let's keep things pushing. Let's go to the women's side of things, the women's 100-meter hurdles. Jasmine Camacho-Quinn came on 12:36, Samba Mayala 12:40, and Masai Russell 12:47. Another comparative field, another comparative race. What did you think about this one right here?
Yeah, glad to see that Camacho-Quinn is okay after that injury scare that we heard about. We actually, neither of us chose her to win. I actually picked the second place, Samba Mayala, for the win, and you picked the third place, Russell, for the win, because we weren't sure if Camacho-Quinn was even going to show up or if she was 100% healthy. So glad to see that she is. She's very consistent. And like you always say, consistency means a big drop is coming. Will we see a 20 something at the next Diamond League in a little over a week? Well, we may have to if these ladies want to beat Nugent. So I think Brussels will be a very, very fast race because Nugent is not playing.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to go at 12:4 in order to beat her. I mean, now Akira Nugent, I'm talking about, has hit her stride. 12:2 consistent weeks, consistent meets back to back. So if you're going to beat her, you're going to have to put forth a 12:2 performance, which all of these women are capable of doing. Very good run. I mean, Jasmine Camacho-Quinn, man, excellent technician, and she comes on strong in the second half of the race. And if she's with the pack, that's dangerous because she has a way of pulling away. Don't think Masai got the greatest start. Samba Mayala, very consistent all the way through. So another competitive run from another competitive field that's put together in the women's 100-meter hurdles. But I completely agree. I think if they are going to beat Akira Nugent right now in the last Diamond League event, 12:2 is going to have to be in the apparent. And we might be in a situation where 12:2 doesn't win, so that's something that we got to keep in mind as well, too. But Jasmine Camacho-Quinn is showing that as long as I'm on the line, I'm feeling good and I'm healthy, I plan on winning. And I think she's probably beaten these women more times than the others have beat her this year.
Yeah.
Is just on the Olympics. You got to show up on the night and get it done on the night. Masai Russell says she hasn't won a whole lot. And she won on the night. And then she hasn't won a whole lot since. So it goes to show how competitive the women's 100-meter hurdles are. Any of these women that got top 3 and some of the ones who got 4th, 5th, and 6th, any given night, the tides could turn and the winner could shuffle. This is what makes this event so, so exciting and so fun to watch. Let's keep things pushing to the men's 1,500 meter. Jared Naguse, 3:29.21. Inga Brixton, 3:29.52. Cole Hawker, 3:30.46. Josh Kerr, I believe, got 5th. What was your thoughts on this performance right here?
Yeah, they were saying when the guys were on the line that Inga Brixton had said during the press conference that he has been under the weather. And so I'm like, how is he going to attack this race? Maybe he'll sit back. Well, he didn't. He went right out there. He's fearless, right? Under the weather or not, he decided to go with the rabbits. And I thought he was going to pull it off. Naguse sat on him, though. Inga Brixton became Naguse's rabbit. And so Naguse was in a really good position and was just a bit stronger that last 50, 75 meters and came away with a win. And the announcers were saying Naguse doesn't win often. He's always in that second, third, fourth position. So glad to see him come away with the win. He ran a very, very smart race, just sitting on Inga Brixton and then kicking past him the last straightaway. Inga Brixton, Hawker, Kerr, even Naguse, they all look a little tired. Like it wasn't the fastest time. Again, it seems like they're just trying to make their way through the season. Really not used to seeing Josh Kerr that far back. Fifth is not bad, but we're used to seeing him, up there battling with Ingebrigtsen. So again, I think these men are just tired and are just fighting their way to the end of the season. But Brussels will be interesting. It'll be another tactical race, I think.
Yeah, if Ingebrigtsen is true to what he's been saying and he's not feeling well, it kind of looked like it, because we're used to him pulling away, especially in the second half of the season from when he broke those records, right? He's been pulling away and he just did not have it. But Nuguse did. He pulled away and he just looked a little tired, but a little fresher than the others, at least on the night. So it was a good, consistent run. I think the pace kind of made Hawker run a little bit faster than what he wanted to, and the kick wasn't as strong as it usually comes on. But he's the Olympic champ, right? So there's always going to be a target on your back when you are the Olympic champ. So he's just got to, continue to get used to running and competing with all of these men, because kind of like that women's 100-meter hurdles, man, on any given day, it could be Ingebrigtsen, Hawker, Nuguse, Kerr, Ingebrigtsen, Hawker, Ingebrigtsen. These guys are elevating the event to new levels. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do and what it looks like at the last Diamond League in Brussels, because, maybe they got one more good, fast run in them. And as long as all of them are in the race together, the ego is going to kick in, and nobody wants to lose to anybody.
Good point.
Let's keep things pushing. Let's go to the men's 200-meter. Very interesting race. What did you think about this one right here?
This was definitely, I think, the highlight of the meet. I know people were saying it was rainy, but you wouldn't have guessed it after seeing these times, right? Tebogo, he wasn't really in it until he had to be, which was at the very end. And so he just looks like he's having a ball. He's dancing afterward. He's having fun. Yeah, I know, but Bednarik has to feel a little upset because he ran a personal best, a very fast time, 19:57, and still didn't get the win. So hopefully he has his head held high after running a PB and then Knighton in third for 19:79. But we said it in the last episode, Tebogo is going to be very hard to beat. He just finds a way to win, even when it looks like he's not in the race.
Man, that's got to be annoying. I've been in that position where you run your fastest time and it's still not good enough. I'm sure you have stories about that as well, too. That's what Bednarik did, man. I mean, he ran that curve like his life was dependent on it. And he was pulling away. And then we were like, man, is Tebogo going to catch him? And sure enough, you just see that stride and see his chest come forward. And he crosses the line first. He's won post-Olympics. He's won every race different. Sometimes he just did enough. Sometimes he had to fight back. And sometimes he was already ahead and he just cruised down. But this time he had to run, I'm sure, faster than probably what he wanted to run. This looked like much more work than his 1946 at the Olympics. Kenny Bednarik made him run. That's one thing when you're racing against Kenny Bednarik, man, is you got to show up, because he's going to run. You don't care how he feels, sick, tired, exhausted. He's going to make you run. But Tebogo's confidence is through the roof right now, man. It's just going to show that whatever it is that you can do right now, that I can do just a little bit better. And I hope that Bednarik gets a little bit of joy in the fact that I just ran my personal best in September. That's got to be one of the fastest times in September ever. But you know who else is ahead of him in September? Tebogo. But a great performance from all three of these men. I mean, these men are running really, really fast times in September, but it just goes to show, man, Tebogo right now is in the shape of his life. And if he can put together one more race in Brussels, he could break that 1946 personal best. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what these three is going to do in a week's time. But right now, you cannot argue the fact that Tebogo's confidence is on another level right now, and he is the man to beat right now. As of post-Olympics, he doesn't know how to lose, and he hasn't lost. So this was a very, very good run, very, very good race. And again, he came back and won the 200 a different way than he did the week before. Man, the man's an incredible talent. There's really not much more else to say. Let's keep things pushing. not a very long show today. Just a quick oversight on the meet that was just shown on TV. But before we get to the last topic, this wasn't on the docket, but the race between Mondo Duplantis and Karsten Warholm. What do you think about that race right there, real quick?
Yeah, it was a spectacle. You're a big boxing fan, so I kept saying, man, they're making this like a boxing match, right? And the crowd was there. All the runners who competed today and in today's meet were there supporting it. It was they made a big deal out of it, which I think is really cool. They're trying to bring more attention to the sport with being creative. This is the first kind of like head-to-head matchup that I've seen in a long time. And so I actually thought Warholm was gonna win, but Mondo got out. I heard Fred Curley had been helping him with his blocks. So he got out really well and never looked back. And it was fun to watch. It was entertaining, which is, I think that was the goal.
Yeah, entertaining is exactly what I think it was. Because honestly, as I said, like this just seemed very random. Like the last head-to-head that I've seen of this magnitude, and this was a smaller magnitude compared to what I'm going to mention for the track heads out there, and that's Donovan Bailey at the Sky Dome against Michael Johnson. That was the fastest man of the fastest men. Like that was I only heard about it because I was just a young pup during those times, but it reminded me of that. This is events like this to bring more excitement and to bring different things to the sport. I mean, Mondo opened up 10:37. Like that's a fast time, but he did have that 10:5 in him as his personal best coming into this meet. And I mean, Karsten Warholm, and I said this as well too. Karsten looks like he can run 10:4 the next 100 meters, the next 100 meters, like he's just very one pace. Whereas Mondo Duplantis, you see that he has a dry face. He had a transition. He went to that top end. And it's just a reminder for those watching and for those who always come for track and field people, you can't just get off the couch and do that. It takes a certain level of skill set and consistency in training to develop everything. So I thought it was a good, it was different.
Yeah, maybe they'll continue it. Like, who would you want to see in another? I think 100 meter is the best distance. It's the most entertaining for something like this. But who would you want to see duke it out next?
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't even mind seeing like a 300.
Okay.
Yeah, 300, 250. As like I would love to see a 300. I'd love to see Matthew Hudson Smith, let's see Tebogo, Quincy Hall. Let's see, one more comes to mind. And if Wade Van Niekerk is in really good shape, I would love to see those men go at it 300 meters. I think that would be very exciting. We might see the first sub 30 seconds. But
yeah, I saw on Twitter that Vernon Norwood called out Marco Arop in a 500. So, but everyone's saying, well, the most fair distance for those two would be a 600. Yeah, but I don't think Vernon wants to see him in a 600.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And Vernon's a real deal, man. He's had a really good year. He's the real deal. But hopefully we get to see more of that. I tell you what, I don't want to see. I don't want to see, the mixed relay type of stuff happening. I don't want to see. I saw on the internet they're talking about Sydney and another guy. I don't want to see that.
Sydney versus a guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. But I do want to see more of this. I think it's different. Different appeal is always good sometimes. But let's talk a little bit about Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone and everything that was going on. You probably got a better understanding of this. Do you want to break this one down a little bit more?
Yeah, so the Brussels Diamond League announced earlier this week that Sydney would be competing in their competition, which is considered the final of the Diamond League, that she would be competing in the 400 the first day and then the 200 the second day. A lot of people were excited. They're like, oh my gosh, Paulino versus Sydney, Sydney versus the 200 meter women. We finally get to see her run more, yada, yada, yada. Other people were like, that's cool and all, but she can't just be put into the Diamond League final. That is something that you earn by competing in Diamond Leagues throughout the year. And so now there is a wild card rule, and that's what they had announced, that she got in on the wild card rule. Wild card means we can pick somebody to put into this meet. And the only thing is, the rule says that in order to be a wild card, you had to have competed in at least one Diamond League this year. Sydney has not. So we've recently learned she won't be competing in the 400 meter, in the 200 meter finals at Brussels. Now they have created a B race for her. So she will run in the B heats of the 400 meter and the 200 meter at this event. But I don't know if it was the outrage from social media that kind of had these meet organizers saying like, oh, we can't do this, we're breaking the rules. I think it is the right call, because yes, we want to see the best of the best compete, but the women in that 400 and 200 meter final, like they earn those spots. They have been competing all year. They got the points to be there. And you can't just break the rule for somebody. I don't care how good they are. You're setting a really bad precedent if you're just going to break the rule for someone. So it is unfortunate, but I think she'll still run fast in those B races. So.
Yeah, I think it's exactly right. I think they already talked to Sydney about, you are going to compete in the A races. But then they looked online and was just like, oh, wow, we did not think it was going to be like this. They probably thought that nobody was going to say anything and they were just going to slide it underneath there. So they had to backtrack and say, you know what, let's still put her there, but not put her in this, because it's not fair. Look, the IAAF, they don't care. They don't care about none of that. All right. But it's the integrity of the sport is what people care about. To me, we all know what Sydney can do and what she's been able to accomplish, but it's not fair. And so for her to come in after I've been going to all these Diamond League meets, inconveniencing myself, putting myself out there, whether I feel good, whether I don't, in order to win money. And then Sydney comes in and takes money out of my pocket, because when she comes in, somebody is not going to be there who's been there.
She's taking a lane, yeah.
I remember in Monaco, it was the first time I ever saw it. Usain Bolt was not supposed to run. This was like back in 2016, 17, 13, somewhere there. Usain Bolt was not supposed to run. He did not even enter the meet. 2 days later, Usain Bolt is in the meet. And I'm like, how? He didn't. Somebody got kicked out of that lane and Usain Bolt got put into the race and somebody got kicked out. So they can do what they want to do whenever they want to do it. But I think it's the backlash of the people that change their perspective on everything. But I do think they're going to put together a heck of a B lineup, because they want to put Sydney there to run well, to run fast. But at the end of the day, rules are rules, and there are exceptions to that rules, and they were trying to slide under that rule, but too many people were watching and too many people spoke up. But it is good to see her coming to run, regardless if it's the A or the B. She is going to run fast. She's going to run faster than some of the A's, but
we'll have to wait for those matchups that we were looking forward to, like her versus Paulino. We'll have to wait.
But it should be good. It should be good. And we'll touch on things a little bit more closer to the date when we see the full lineup. So before we close out the show, let us know your thoughts on the Zurich Diamond League, what races you like, what races we missed and should have covered. Let us know in the comment section below. And what is your thoughts on Mondo and Karsten? Let us know your thoughts. And of course, we want to hear your thoughts on the Sydney situation. Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's unfair? Do you care? Do you not care? We want to hear all about it. Let us know in the comment section below. Couple more meets left to go, but we'll talk about those closer to those dates. So with all that being said, episode 28 is complete, and we'll see you next time.